Hello, you're watching ERi-TV English News Broadcast live from our headquarters in Asmara. I'm Han Berhet. Let's first look at the top stories that are making headlines today. Announcement from the Minister of Health. Annual meeting of PFDJ organization in northern Germany. Hundreds trapped in Hong Kong's World Trade Center fire. Blinken says US still prepared to sell jet fighters to UAE. Announcement from the Minister of Health. 11 patients have been diagnosed positive for COVID-19 and tests carried out today at quarantine centers and testing stations in the central, northern Haiti, and southern regions. Out of these, 6 patients are from quarantine centers 1 and testing stations 5 in Asmara Central region. 3 patients are from testing stations in Ginda 1, Galalo 1, and Masawa 1, northern Haiti region. 2 patients are from testing stations in Sanaafe, southern region. On the other hand, 41 patients who have been receiving medical treatment in hospitals in the Central 24 and Southern 17 regions have recovered fully and have been discharged from these facilities. Sadly, 85 years old patient from the Central region has passed away due to the pandemic. The total number of recovered patients has accordingly increased to 7,490, while the number of deaths has risen to 65. The total number of confirmed cases in the country to date has increased to 7,686. Ministry of Health, Asmara, 15 December 2021. People's Front for Democracy and Justice organization in northern Germany conducted its annual meeting on 11 December in a virtual format. At the meeting in which in charge the affairs at Eritrean Embassy Consul General in Frankfurt, the head of public and community affairs, heads of various institutions as well as several members participated, heads of PFDJ units presented reports focusing on political, social, organizational as well as other activities. The participants conducted extensive discussion on the reports presented in terms of strengths and challenges and on charted out program for 2022. Speaking at the event, the charge the affairs at the Eritrean Embassy in Germany, Mr. Johannes Woldu gave extensive briefing on the objective situation in the homeland and regional developments. The head of public and community affairs, Mr. Kahsai Tawalla, also presented a report regarding the contribution and the national estimate to augment the national fund to combat COVID-19 pandemic and in support of families of martyrs as well as on the charted out programs for 2022. The Consul General at the Eritrean Embassy, Mr. Kibrab Takaste, on his part, called the nationals to reinforce participation in the effective implementation of ongoing political, diplomatic, and developmental activities. The nationals on their part, expressed conviction to strengthen organizational capacity and participation in the national affairs. The National Association of Voluntary Blood Donors branch in Southern Region conducted its third convention on 13 December in Mendefera. Speaking at the event, the chairman of the association, Mr. Abraham Johannes, stated that awareness-raising campaigns were not successful as planned due to insufficient capacity of branch association. However, those that were aimed at students and government institutions were effective. Honorary President of the Association, Mr. Kalab Tesfaselase, on his part, indicating the significant role of regular voluntary blood donation activity in ensuring safe blood supply, called on the Southern Region Voluntary Blood Donors Association in cooperation with the National Blood Transfusion Center to reinforce awareness-raising campaigns. Stating that lack of adequate blood banks in hospitals is creating problem and the effort being conducted to organize voluntary blood donation programs, participants called for alleviation efforts as well as increasing the budget of association. The director of the National Blood Transfusion Center, Dr. Johannes Takaste, on his part, called on the Ministry of Health administrations and line ministries to support the branch association and sub-branches become effective in their endeavor. Finally, the participants of the third convention of National Association Voluntary Blood Donors branch in Southern Region elected an executive committee of 20 members, and certificate of recognition was handed over to senior members as well as various institutions. We will be back with international news. Stay tuned. Hundreds of people are trapped on the roof of a skyscraper in Hong Kong following a fire on Wednesday, according to media reports. Wednesday's blaze at the 38-story World Trade Center in Causeway Bay triggered a large response, with firefighters trying to rescue several using emergency ladders. Dozens of people have already been evacuated. The South China Morning Post said more than 300 people were trapped on the building rooftop, and at least 7 people, including a woman in her 60s, suffered from smoke inhalation. It said the fire broke out at 12:37 p.m. local time in an electrical switch room before ripping through the scaffolding of the building, which houses both offices and shopping center. Citizen News, citing a police officer at the scene, put the number of people trapped on the rooftop at 350 and said another 100 people were waiting to be rescued on a platform on the 5th floor of the building. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the United States were still prepared to sell F-35 fighters just to the United Arab Emirates. Asked about the conditions the U.S. has set, he did not give precise details, but said Washington wanted to ensure that Israel maintains its military edge. His comments came after a day after the UAE embassy in Washington, D.C. informed the U.S. that is suspending discussions on that includes this advanced F-35 aircraft. In a statement to the Associated Press, the embassy said the UAE would suspend discussions on the sale while meeting at the Pentagon scheduled for later this week between the two sides on other issues would proceed as planned. Former U.S. President Donald Trump's administration first announced the $23 billion arms deal with the Emirati government last year. The multi-billion-dollar deal between Washington and Abu Dhabi also has faced opposition in the U.S. Congress. At least 60 people have been killed and dozens were more injured after a truck carrying fuel exploded in the northern Haitian city of Cap Haiti, a local official said, as authorities are calling for additional supplies and staff to help treat the victims. The explosion occurred just after midnight on Tuesday in Haiti's second largest city on the country's northern coast, where survivors rushed outside and yelled as they observed how the fire consumed part of their neighborhood. Hours later, a local hospital was overwhelmed with injured people as it pleaded for basic supplies and more medical staff. According to Al-Monor, it appeared the truck driver lost control as it swerved to avoid the motorcycle taxi and the tanker flipped over. He said fuel spilled into the road and pedestrians rushed to collect it. Before we close for today's news, let's have a recap of the headlines tonight. Announcement from the Ministry of Health. Annual meeting of PFDJ organization in northern Germany. Hundreds trapped in Hong Kong's World Trade Center fire. Blinken says U.S. still prepared to sell jet fighters to UAE. That was all for today's news. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.